now, saying that I'm inviting to that stage. For the third year, we have him, the founder of entertainment platform Crazy, Andrei Bezryadin, who will speak about AI agents to do tasks on your computer. Over to you. For the third year in a row, we are having him. Hello, my friends, especially those who are lying in the sun. Positive Hack Days opens new windows of opportunity, so feel being wrapped meat. My name is Andrei Bezryadin. I'm doing a lot of creative things with the help of traditional, non-traditional things. I'm making visuals, videos, I'm making applications, etc. I'm telling people about that. I arrange different courses or provide some consultancy. And today I'm going to tell you about the artificial intelligence and how to use AI agents. Not foreign agents, but AI agents. So in the neural networks, there is an entity that can perform different roles. In my chat box, I have different people. I also involve some creative things. That's about the production and other things, and they're sharing their experience, and I look at that and I'm getting impressed very much, because the people would even come without technical skills, far away from technical education, and it means that they can use their voice in order to get what they want, so they make instruments for themselves, tailor it for themselves, and the more you do that, the more you're impressed. And besides, my best regards to the people who are watching that streaming. So, we are looking at the neural networks, and what we see, there are two viewpoints. There are people who say, oh, neural networks will replace me, I have to progress to study something new, and there are people just like me who say, when exactly I'm going to replace? When finally you take part of my job, because I wanted to shift part of my job to the neural networks. And I said that I'm doing some creative thing, but there is another thing that I'm doing. I'm posting some news, and every time I put my fingers on the keyboard, I feel being a machine, because in order to convert the text from the website to the post actually takes some time, so we have to copy the text, to edit it, to adapt that for the audience, to make some input. Okay, but again, in that text, you are going to somehow disappear. But what if just automating that, and you can make your own posts, not diluted with someone else's ideas? That would be very much interesting. So this is one thing, and another thing is like that. I have an idea of applications for Telegram that I want to make. I have certain vision as to what button has to work, and now I have to write several thousands of lines of code to make sure that it works, and in order to make a shortcut from the idea to market, we're using automation and neural networks. The agents. Why we need the agents? So that they could take that and convey it over there as fast as possible in the most efficient way. There are different ways you can do that. There are cloud things and there are local ones. Agents, who are they? So before it all started with simple bots and scripts, for instance, in Telegram. But the problem about that is that, well, for instance, they have some specific knowledge, and they know that this has to be answered this way or this way. So when the person pushes this button, then this action has to be triggered. And you can answer to a bot something, and it will not respond. There are services that help you to merge several bots all together so that they do something all together. Take a letter from Gmail and do something with that. But again, it is very much restricted. Then we got neural networks, LLM models, or ChatGPT, Grok, GigaChat, Yandex, Alice, for instance. Don't we have Alice?
Вот.
Okay.
И, короче, проблемы с ними в том, что они обладают катастрофической
And the problem is that
памятью, она жестко,
they tend to forget everything.
у них контекст, то есть вот это вот,
And the context,
она понимает твою задачу,
the space where it understands your task, but a limited way.
она очень много они много галлюцинируют, то есть они выдают тебе то,
And
что они
they would
факты, а это вообще опасно.
actually convey to you what actually they have invented themselves, and they portray that as facts. And that's a very dangerous thing. And since last year, agents started developing rapidly.
И которые для того, чтобы она
For instance, if we look
все, и нужно слишком
at the
что если пойти по-другому, взять
actually, if we take a different way, if we split that,
конкретную модель
it might be
себя на мини-агент,
a model that
она в
splits that into many agents, where it may enter different modes. For instance, one would check the text, the other one would
вместе делают,
look at how to do that all together, and the other one actually would merge everything. So this is just like
домашку
your mother who actually is checking your homework and is punishing you and is cooking the dinner and is talking on the phone. So that's about multitasking. So it means that we can blend many neural networks. One neural network would work as an expert in order to write a code.
другая смотрит,
Another one would generate design. Another one would check whether the code is secure, would check that. And
пока они его не выполнят, либо пока
they would do that
где
until they
почему еще не готово. Звучит
actually perform you.
и они, как я сказал, бывают либо облачные, либо
And these might be either
как раз-таки клод,
cloud one or local one.
и же с ними локальные, чем хорошо.
And that might be ChatGPT and Grok that would interact with the cloud one. But as for the local ones, for instance, you can may take some mathematical problem, or for instance, you may task it with writing verses in Russian. You cannot bring them together so that they can do something. And every such model would always be better than a big one, because it is trained using some big data and it doesn't know all those details. And the smaller ones, they are smaller, they work faster, and you can place them locally.
Там даже сейчас как раз-таки есть варианты на телефонах. Это все
And now there is an option to do that on the smartphone.
на телефоне.
Small models on the smartphone.
Потом появились в конце прошлого года MCP
Then, end of last year, MCPC servers emerged.
нейронка.
This is a sub-agent neural network. It used to be like that.
Доступна, но она из него не может
It was available from website, but it did not get out.
приложение.
So you want, for instance, to put some application from GitHub. We want to run some application, so I'm not a technical person.
Нейронка пришла к тебе на компьютер,
You just want the neural network to come to your
у тебя компьютер. Вот.
computer and do all the settings. This can be done. And this is called MCPC servers. So it means that the neural network just would assist you, would put its digital fingers on your keyboard, would install the application. You can watch that real time. Then the people started using MCPC servers for generating music to generate 3D.
Всё начало очень лавинообразно расти с конца прошлого года.
So it started mushrooming starting from last year. And now we have numerous MCPC servers which are connected to almost everything. So it means that neural network can get access to almost the real physical world.
Берутся в роботов и
So once they are installed inside robots
физически
and they have an access
вам как раз таки трубу
to the physical world, once they can touch the grass, so to say, they'll be able to purge your pipes and tubes. Anthropic even made a step forward and made integrations. So before,
их
it was limited by their free application so that you could do something on your computer, but now it has been removed, so they got more freedom. What is interesting, last year, Microsoft,
мы выпустим фичу в Windows 11,
it said that actually it's
получается
going to publish a feature in the Windows, that's another agent on your computer,
Все, что
but it makes screenshots. So whatever you're doing on the computer, every 5 to 10 minutes, they actually put that on Microsoft Cloud. So we trust them that this is confidential, but once Microsoft did that, everyone said, no, this is too bad. This is about privacy.
Microsoft верить нельзя.
They're going to leak our data. You cannot trust Microsoft. And MCP servers emerged last year, and that means that neural networks may do whatever you want on your computer, and they say, okay, do it. Just they get access to the one thing, to another thing, and one more thing. So in terms of security, we have to think that thoroughly. But unlike Microsoft MCP, this is an open source protocol, so it means we can do that quicker and smarter, so people from all over the world would check the code. So it means that there is more trust. Okay,
Вот с прошлого года вот эта тема
and here you go. Since last year, that
Google, Anthropic, OpenAI,
Anthropic, Google, and Microsoft, they all started implementing that topic, starting from granting the
найди мне тостер,
AI agents the possibility to do some search. So, for instance, you say,
деньги не кончатся.
find something which would cost 1,000 rubles, and it would do that and keep doing that until they provide a result.
Вместе с MCP и со всем остальным получилось.
Along with MCP and other things, neural networks now got thinking. And there is a thinking budget, so it means until what time that neural network may ponder, otherwise it can do that forever. For instance, 6 o'clock in the evening, you're sitting in the office and you approached and said, you have to do this and this,
Размышления закончатся и просто как
and you say, no, I've run out of my budget.
все, как трансформер. И получается, сейчас у нас нейронки
And now the neural networks,
агентов, точнее, вот эти компании, они активно внедряют агентов.
those companies that are implementing agents into ACP. OpenAI made a code
В базу из одного
that can
какого-то
just move your code base
кода или там из одного
from one version of the code or from one language to another language, and you don't have to do anything. And it really works in many pilots. Deep research, I used it myself. There was a moment when a news was published that Midjourney,
встал на
or at least the Chinese court,
стенку,
was on the side of a man who generated a picture, and he has the copyright for that.
в оригинале ссылки на источник, я попросил, она
There was no
не могу,
link to the original news, and I do not know
попросил Perplexity, он
the Chinese language, so I asked the Perplexity, and it finally provided me with the court's ruling in Chinese. So it means that you instructed it to see what it thinks, what it does,
заниматься, а в конце он выдает тебе ответ.
and at the end of the day, actually, it provides you the answer.
Microsoft, у них на днях была
Microsoft.
они там анонсировали,
Quite recently, they had a conference, and they said that there would be a direct protection support of MCP. So it means that
чтобы ты просил,
you can connect MCP to the voice assistant. And for instance, you can use the voice assistant to download music, or
у тебя
you can download the neural network, and it would be adapted for your hardware, for the CPU, for the video card, and
внедрять там в этих
other things that I implemented since last year in the notebooks.
комовских. Пока не прокатило, потому что не адаптировано ничего.
So at the moment it doesn't work because it has not been adopted yet, but let us see what will be in future. And Google
Они внедрили его в
decided to just introduce neural networks everywhere in search,
отчетами.
and the search would provide you with a detailed report. I do not know how people are making reports and study
Дал задание,
and other things. You just instruct the machine and you get the ready-made answer.
а сейчас
Well, when I was a student, I had to read a book, but now the students are not doing that.
причем Google еще сделал Firebase, это
And Google made a Firebase. It means that you can just enter and ask a neural network with the words, make such an application. You just say that. Or actually, you can actually make a
Он даже не будет париться.
screenshot saying that let you make me a clone of Spotify, and it would do the same. That is very much impressive. Browsers. I looked at Firefox and Brave and others. They all now have
Нейронка в сайт-баре. Вы можете
their own neural network.
не парились.
And probably you do not see that, but it doesn't matter. It is there. And you can select a model that is going to answer to you.
Модель, чтобы она тебе отвечала.
And you can opt for the local model.
Данные, все такое круто. Вот. А NVIDIA
And that's great.
от земли и уходит в облака в решения для бизнеса и все меньше
And
геймерские поля, потому что им
it leaves the gamers' fields because it is not interesting for them. But they were replaced by other guys who made Apple chips. Qualcomm arrived with their own software.
было бы очень интересно увидеть каких-то
And it would just great to see some new stakeholders in that market, for instance, within the distributed solutions.
стали так не
As far as all those things, the neural networks are simplifying the access to people, or access to creating some applications.
можешь, не трогая, не
Some platforms were created where, without changing the code, you can use your voice or just
ставишь узлы, делаешь,
use nodes, make some nodes and show that, for instance, I want that neural network to work with that neural network, etc., so that they take the data from that database, and here is the vector database, and these are the services they have to get connected. This is just like Lego. So if you played Lego in childhood, this is the same Lego but for the adults.
то есть если для
And
ты делаешь
to end, this is a very interesting open source code. And if you want
можно прям потрогать.
to make something with a visual interface that you can touch and use in the production, so the subscription costs just $20. Confined API, you can generate the pictures or videos or text.
Но если ты к этому подойдешь,
This is like an assembler, but actually if you use interface for that, that would be another excellent option.
взять с помощью такого
And for instance, you can use that editor in order to make
girlfriend. И главное только
something like IRL your girlfriend and AI girlfriend and talk to it. For instance, you set some limits when probably that AI girlfriend wants to use your credit card.
можно просто
Wipe coding, that's a buzzword. So it means that you just can use your voice to talk just like in Telegram. You are putting your voice over the messages.
точки А в точку Б.
And you will see actually how actually the application is being built like a Lego. But we have to remember that wipe coding, that's good. But you have to understand at least a little bit what you are doing. Either ask the neural network, what is about that? Ideally, you ask a neural network, do this or that, and explain to me what it is inside. And eventually you will start understanding what it is. And you will say, do this or that to me.
Вот это сделать, а
Where you will ask, how do you do it yourself? Because you will feel that you are growing. Otherwise, actually, it will just write your code from scratch, and there would be just 2,000 lines of code, and you'll wait for hours before it answers.
вот. Собственно говоря, для офисной рутины
Well, in essence, for the office routines, those agents are excellent, so they're familiar with your Gmail exchange and communication. They know how to respond to your colleagues,
твоя коллега
so that
агента, чтобы прочитать.
she knows that, and your colleague would use another agent in order to read that correspondence and to answer. So the dead internet is closer to us. As I said, the search and
Поиска по интернету,
investigation
и где они
is something that we can use. And for instance, the system would do that instead if you can use that for investigation, just some scientific survey. And for instance, news was published that some proteins were obtained
новый материал,
for cooling the servers in order to save up some money. So you can automate the content. For instance, a child
фотографию,
would download
чтобы он был
their picture
меном. Пожалуйста.
and he wants to look like a Spider-Man. Here you are. You just do that, and one neural network won't understand
Картинку на 360.
that actually the picture would be rotated 360 degrees, and another neural network would put his face into Spider-Man's face, and it takes just seconds. Okay, not seconds, but probably very soon it would take some seconds.
Системы, то есть можно проектировать какие-то сложные
You can design some sophisticated applications. As I said, one neural network
другая заточка
is about cybersecurity, the other one
на питоне.
is about writing code on Python, and the fourth one
Который просто наблюдает.
would be the product manager that is just looking at that.
Я что делаю? Я вот беру фотографии людей
And what I'm doing,
или видео,
I take the pictures of the people who send their photos to me, and I make videos.
персонажем кино,
And just sometimes people want to become
пообщался с
some characters where they want their children to talk to their favorite characters. Happy birthday, for instance, messages, and children like that very much.
стоит помнить.
What do we have to remember about that?
Чем больше ты даешь данных этим нейронам,
The more
естественно,
you give data to that neural network in the cloud, the better, because the more data you have,
твоя все время улетучивается.
they keep,
Поэтому
but you undermine your
переходили все больше на
privacy. So it would be greater that people move
и лучше
more to the local models that become
помогать,
better and better, and open source prevents you from working with the closed models, and that's great.
из зоны комфорта.
And comfort zone.
Что на данный момент у
At the moment, neural networks
по контекстам
have very stringent limits in terms of the context, and they can find themselves in a dead end. But you have to bear in mind
программировать или там в чем-то
that doing some programming
это и желательно
or creating content,
знать про это, прежде чем ты упрешь
you can get stuck,
немного, но в
and you have to know that beforehand.
какой-то модели работаешь, разобраться,
You have to deep dive into the model you're working with.
и он может
But actually, it would be enough to ask Grok or ChatGPT because they understand your questions very well.
лимиты очень нужно. То есть
And you have to set the limits very much.
не было такого, что ты заставил приложение там искать за тебя какую-то информацию,
So that you make the application to work instead of you and wake up in the morning. But you see that actually the system is still running because you have not set the limits.
вот эти вот облачные решения, которые
And step by step, those digital solutions that they are charging you money, they
конфетализм,
somehow ruin your comfort zone.
масло для
Laziness
и задача этих чуваков
is a mass market for capitalism.
взять его на эти шестеренки, чтобы они быстрее крутились и чеканили
And
монеты.
the task for these people is to see where laziness goes so that they can drive it to the correct way and to get money from this. So for us, it's very important to stay fit, especially first and foremost, fit in mind. Once neural networks
Они будут за вас работать, тогда
and AI engines will do work instead of you. You automate your processes, you made it faster. But we will get there sooner or later. We have to understand that managements do not push the buttons. If you are afraid that you'll be replaced by AI, that managers are looking for people who do work. They don't do the work themselves. They want someone else to do the work.
он говорит, я не буду это
And
делать.
somebody came to me, there was a customer, I gave him everything, and he didn't do the work because he doesn't want to do the work. He wants to give a request, to give an order, whatever. He doesn't want to do the work. He wants to have the results of the work. So that's the reason why people who can work with AI will be in demand. So you have to read a lot, you have to listen a lot, understand what kind of AI solutions are at the top and what works better specifically for your solutions. And you also have to improve your skills in order to understand how to take a complex problem, separate it into a few smaller problems, and then give it to AI those smaller problems instead of giving one big complex problems. And once you do this step by step and then put all that together, it will be much easier to solve. So once we get to the future where AI can shoot nuclear warheads from one country to another, then it will be absolutely different situations. Maybe you will be the only person alive who really knows what will happen. Maybe you will have to be a sentry in a data center for them.